everyone. Welcome to the AmP&x podcast. I'm here today with Leigh Koechner, right, Leigh?
That is right. I am Leigh Koechner.
Yes, welcome. Just a little background on AmP&x for those who maybe haven't seen our previous podcast. We're all about shining a light on abuse. And so we've interviewed many people from all kinds of walks of life that have experienced all kinds of abuse, from being in a relationship with a narcissist to mental abuse to physical. And what I really like today is that we have someone that's going to talk to us about maybe manifesting a healthier life. And I think that's a nice, pivot from what we've been talking about. And it's really important that we have those guests that share their stories and people learn from them and they have takeaways. But I think it's also really important to learn other things, to talk about your messy life and how to heal through that. And so with that, we'll turn it over to Leigh, but I want to just do a brief intro, Leigh. So you're a mentor, you're a podcaster yourself, correct?
Yes.
And what's the name of your podcast?
I put it on hold right now because I'm building out my nonprofit, but my podcast does have a bunch of episodes up. It's called Messy Imperfect Life with Leigh.
Love it. Okay. And then you're also the founder of I Got You Foundation?
Yes.
Which I love that. I got you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a whole story in itself, but I've set it up, and right now we're building out the platform and getting ready to ask for big money to make a big difference.
Oh, well, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Now, you did work on a big project, did you not, with Deepak Chopra?
Well, yeah, there was a fellow, Rob Beamer, who was a parent at my kids' school and knew I was spiritual and kind of in that world. And he told me he was working on a mindfulness movement documentary. And as he told me about it, I was friends with Deepak Chopra and his partner, Punacha. And so I reached out to them and said, you guys want to be a part of that? And then together we made the mindfulness movement documentary.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah. So it's all about, for you, like spreading love, right? And manifesting a healthier life.
I think the biggest gift we can give is to know what our mission is here on the planet and what our job is. And for me, my mission is to spread love, and my job is to shine my light. God gave me a pretty vibrant light. And before I used it to party or attract people to make out with. And then when I got older, now I'm just realizing that I have learned how to connect to God so deeply and to connect to my heart and to my true self. And it's so powerful. And so when I interact with anyone, I look them in the eyes and I communicate with them in a loving way, or actually the way that I do with myself now, because I see that we're all equal and everyone's going through heavy stuff and everyone's struggling with different words.
For sure. Yeah.
I think that's the great equalizer. I used to go to Hollywood parties. I was married to actor David Koechner from Anchorman and The Office.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting tidbit.
Yeah, we got a divorce.
I was curious though, I'm always curious, like, you have this busy life and whatnot, and then what pivoted you here? Was there like a particular moment that?
What pivoted me here was my father beat the hell out of me, but back then it was called spanking. He had 6 kids. He was chief of staff. He was a surgeon. And my mother was mentally ill and locked behind her bedroom door. So I kind of had the double whammy, the double gift of getting my ass whooped with a belt way too long and hard, and my mother neglecting me.
Yes.
And so that kind of combo sets a young girl up for feeling like she doesn't matter, she's not worthy.
Yeah.
And I lived that story until I was about 30 years old. And then I was like, okay, God, I'm worn out. This running fast, partying hard, acting like I don't matter. I'm exhausted.
Yes.
And I started praying. I said, I'm really ready to meet a man, but I can't even stay with someone after I make out. I just want to run because I've created this wall around my heart.
Right.
And I don't know how to be vulnerable. I don't know how to let myself. So anyway, I met my husband, as I call him now, on an airplane. And as we were talking, I looked in his eyes and I knew this was my husband.
Oh, wow. You just looked at him and you're like, okay, I got that feeling and this is my man.
It was the first time I felt at home in somebody else's eyeballs.
Wow. Oh, that's fun. That's a great thing to say.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, you're here. I've been praying for you. Oh my gosh. And so when the beer cart came on the airplane, or the drink cart, I just got water.
Yeah.
And we had a really great conversation, and I ended up driving him home because he just moved to LA from New
I hope
York.
it was a long flight. So you know, because if you're like falling in love, you're like, I don't want this to end.
I was just like, holy hell, I can't believe he's here. He didn't know as much. He thought my brother actually recognized him and saved him a spot on the airplane.
Is
And
he
so
an actor too?
no, my brother, no, huh?
No, no, your new husband. Is this the
Oh,
same?
so my husband is who I'm talking about now, David Koechner.
Oh, okay. It's still good. Okay, great.
He had just gotten fired from Saturday Night Live and moved to Los Angeles. We flew home for Christmas on different flights to Kansas City. And then we met in Kansas City at the airport terminal. My brother recognized him, saved him a seat on the airplane, and we talked the whole way. And then Dave asked if he could switch seats to be closer to me. And my brother Patrick was like, David, are you attracted to my sister? Because Leigh, I've never seen you act this way.
Oh,
And he
wow.
goes, buddy, I think you're going to be around for a long time.
Oh,
And I had asked God for a sign when I do meet my man to really confirm it's him, so I didn't get drunk and chase him away.
yeah.
And that happened. My brother was that sign, and I really received it, and I knew God was answering my prayers. So I acted like a lady. I didn't show my real wild ass self until a little bit later.
Yeah.
No, but I just stayed present with him, and I didn't drink. And we ended up giving a ride home, and I dropped my brother, then I dropped David. And the next day he came to my New Year's Eve party, and we're together ever since. And we have 5 kids.
5.
5 kids, 3 dogs. So what I've learned from that divorce was a few things. Number one, and this is so important, I've learned for everything, we attract where we are. If we feel bad about ourselves, if we feel unworthy, if we feel this, we attract someone who complements that. And another way to put it is bullies at school, right? Bullies are hurting. People who act like dicks are hurting.
Right. So
they don't know how to handle it. They create something to protect themselves, and often it's abuse.
Yes.
They don't know how to get out all of the big feelings they're feeling for what they're receiving as a child from their home.
Right, right.
So
it's a protection mechanism, isn't it?
And so's the opposite, the victim.
Yeah. Right.
But you can't have one without the other. And the energies attract each other. So if a bully on the playground is out on the playground and he needs to release maybe his abuse from home, or he needs to release, or she needs to release, and she's looking for someone, she can't go to someone who feels happy and healthy and secure in who they are. They wouldn't take it.
Right. Right.
Tolerate it. They'd stand up for themselves. They go, get that away from me.
Yeah.
But when you're down and your story is, I was a victim growing up in my home, I've been verbally abused, I've been neglected, or I've been sexually abused, or whatever it is for a girl or a guy when they're young.
Right.
They can handle it different ways. They can fight for themselves because they got it fighting. They don't know how at home.
Right.
Or they can be, this is who I am at home, and I don't know anything else, and I'm a victim. And they attract each other. So it's not saying that one person's right, one person's wrong, one person's horrible, one person's perfect. It's saying these two energies have come together and they match in some way to complement. She's used to being abused. He's used to fighting to not be abused. They come together and they play out the roles that they've learned.
Yeah, you never know someone's real story, right? You can't just look at what they're doing on the outside and make a judgment.
No, and I do a lot of prison work, and I go into penitentiaries and I teach self-love to prisoners, and for self-forgiveness and learning why they behave the way. And when I hear their stories, I'll have to say, not one had a smile about their childhood. Not one was loved and treated great.
Yeah.
Most of them were abused, neglected, abandoned, raised by gang members. And they just got jumped into a gang. And at 16, they're in a car in the first drive-by shooting because that's their family. And they're in prison now for the rest of their life. Right. And what I learned is everyone's a human being.
Yeah.
We all have love in us. We also we have all these seeds that what we see in the world, we possess all of them. And whatever we grow and nurture is what blossoms.
Well, and they haven't had any tools, right? Because they haven't had any mentors, or the people that were in their life were actually terrible with terrible habits. And so they probably don't even know how to manifest love or love themselves. And they're carrying all this guilt and all this junk inside of them.
Everyone is carrying junk. Everyone is carrying past hurts. Everyone is carrying childhood hurts of when they weren't loved, when they didn't feel enough, when they weren't heard, when they didn't feel like they mattered, when they felt like their voice was nothing. Everyone, because we're raised by humans who are not perfect.
Right.
Some people's experiences and stories are way bigger than ours, not meaning that ours is more or less. They just have a lot more to navigate. And unless you wake up and you realize the pattern has been passed down usually for hundreds of years through generation to generation.
The cycle, yeah.
And I remember my mom was just ridiculed and browbeaten from her mom. And so for us, she just didn't know what to do and locked her door. She was mentally ill, but I didn't know that till later. And my dad's dad beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, so that's
and so my dad had this rage, and when he got really mad, and I was the wildest out of the six.
Were you the oldest?
No, I was in the middle.
Oh, okay.
I'm the typical middle syndrome where you do things for attention and whatever, just to get your voice heard.
Yeah.
But my mom would tell on me, and he'd come home exhausted from 12 hours at the hospital, and she would tell, and he'd be like, God, GD, and the house would shake, and I would hide, and I knew I was about to get my ass wet.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it was just interesting. And my defense mechanism, when he would pull me out from under my bed and pull down my pants and take out his belt, and actually, as he was hitting me, and you get numb when you get hit so much.
Yeah.
I just remember like, what? This cannot be about me telling mom to shut up.
Yeah.
You know? And I would have welts, from my butt up my back. And I just go in the bathroom and be like, oh my gosh. But I just remember, like, I really love that guy. And looking back now, he never had the tools to get out. So when it got triggered, he was a different person in rage.
Yeah, he had his own set of problems. What age were you when you finally said, like, no, enough? Or did you never do that?
No, he just stopped when I got too big. I think when I got pubic hairs, he couldn't pull down my pants anymore. I think I got too big. Yeah. But it was a way for him to release his rage, and he didn't know how.
Right.
Later, we had discussions about it, and he was deeply remorseful.
Yeah.
But it taught me so much.
Yeah.
When you go through stuff and you explore it, not with the heaviness. For years when I was a wild ass, my story was my mom neglected me and nobody cared. Right.
You were the victim. Yeah.
I had a story to support my behavior.
Yes.
Then as I got older, and I was like, damn, I'm done with this shit story.
Yeah.
And I set it down. And after I met my husband, David, we were going along for a few months, and I started getting drunk and picking fights. Oh. And he literally was like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know.
Now you call him husband. I got to figure out what is that?
We're divorced.
You are.
That's the word I made up instead of saying my ex. So when I was going through the beginning of our divorce, we were married 22 years. We got divorced a few years ago. Yeah, it was the most devastating time of my life. I had built my life on the foundation of I am David Koechner's wife. I am a mother of 5, right? So I did that. I took care of the kids. He did his career. I was at home. I was still sharing my services for free online and providing programs and helping people.
Yeah.
That was my role. So when he got involved with addiction, or actually not involved, he started drinking heavily, and then got into drugs. And that is another blessing for me to understand people who have been through addiction, because I didn't know shit about it. I just had my thoughts, which aren't real. Our thoughts are made up thoughts that we've accumulated over the years.
Right.
They're oftentimes not even original, that we're holding, and we're judging people. So he became an alcoholic and an addict. And I watched this disease take this beautiful father and kind husband. He was a good man. He's still a good man.
Yeah.
And turn him into someone by the end I didn't recognize.
Wow.
And I watched him change. And, I saw one of your other guests talk about she didn't even realize she was in abusive marriage, because it just kind of happened, right? Or all of a sudden she's calling her names and this and that, and it's getting deeper. And then she's like, what's going on? But you don't really, if you're out of it, looking back, oh, it's a crystal ball.
Yeah, always the
If
case.
you're in it, it's like, wow, I don't feel good again today. I feel shitty.
Well,
Why?
and I think too, you also don't want to admit that you're going to maybe have to make a major change here, and that's heartbreaking. And so you're
Oh,
like, well, it's not really that bad. Well, I did kind of mess up there. I could see where I irritated him.
two things. I was not leaving or going anywhere. Why? Because I held the belief that this was my man until the day I died.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
was taught that. I got married in the Catholic Church, all that kind of stuff. So I held a belief that's not real. It's just some thought we hold in our head.
yes, yeah.
Freaking told us. I held a belief I was going to stay with him and I was going to be through sickness and health, all that, right?
I did the same thing.
What?
Yeah,
It's not real.
no,
What's real is marriage is a safe space for two people, two loving people to come together and let all of their shit come out and no one's going anywhere to help each other heal.
right, right.
Not that there's not boundaries or abuse or none of that.
Yeah, yeah. And
You
addiction is also hard to stick with if they're not gonna get
can't.
better.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
People were telling me to go to Al-Anon and I was like, screw you. They're like, this is
yeah,
a disease for you too. I go, it's his disease. I'm in
yeah,
hell. Get away.
yeah.
Oh, but then when I went to Al-Anon, it saved my life. It was
Oh,
like
wow,
breathing
really?
from 6 months, 6 feet under I was at that point. I like
Yeah,
crawled in there. And it was this tiny, thin breathing tube through the ground. I could to catch my breath and
yeah.
then to start talking and to get it out and getting support. And that is rock solid.
That's really good to know, for people who are maybe thinking about, should I go to Al-Anon? I don't need it. They got the problem, not me.
Oh yeah, go.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind that went to heal and to understand. And when I got that,
Mm-hmm.
I felt complete. But I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of people who go forever, which is great as well, because it's kind of like free therapy.
Yeah,
You
right.
get heard and people support you, and it's really
And
beautiful.
they can relate, and yeah. And you also talk about, like, to manifest this healthy life, waking up with like really good intentions. Like, that's such a great habit, right? Wake up and set your intentions for the day.
So if people right now, people that are listening, I want to tell you that I love you and
Oh,
that you are okay and you are perfect and you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Does that mean you have to stay there? No. Does it mean that you can just be tender with yourself for a minute? Yes. The biggest thing is learning
mm-hmm.
to say the things you would say to a good friend to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Our thoughts, we spend 60 to 80 thoughts a day.
Mm-hmm.
They are thoughts we've accumulated over most of our life from everywhere, and most of them are negative.
Mm-hmm.
So someone who's feeling shitty goes here, this is no help. This is crazy beat up.
Yeah.
Bad,
Yeah.
you suck. You'll never be enough. Of course you deserve this, right?
Why does this always happen to me? Or, oh, here's another thing. Like, I always try to stay in the positive too. Like, even when things happen, I say, well, I'm learning something from this. Oh, well, here's the upside. I always try to flip it around.
Yeah, but just anyone who's struggling, if you go here, you're going to get deeper in your hole. This will screw you. This is crazy machine, unless you control it and it's working for your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it
And
doesn't
how
run the
can you
show.
control it though? Just being more conscious about your
Saying that.
thoughts running away in that area?
Here's how. You start spinning or getting upset. You start to feel old thoughts that turned you into depression in the past. So you go like this. Oh, this sounds silly, but I think simplicity is key. You go, oh, there's that thought. I suck and I'm never going to be thin enough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I'm wanting to make a change. Hi, thought.
Yeah,
I'm not going to dig my fingers and teeth and ride you to hell.
right.
I'm going to watch you pass by like a cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to pull you out, write you on paper,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to write the opposing thought. I am healthy. My body's cells are working in perfect order, and I can manifest anything I choose.
Yeah.
And every time this thought comes up,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop it and I'm going to say this for 33 days. every day coming back to that one thing.
Yeah.
Because if you do something for 30 days, it creates new neural pathways in your brain.
Oh,
Do
interesting.
it over, they solidify.
Okay.
So we have spent, I'm 57 years with the same negative freaking thought until you
Right.
have awareness, you pull it out, write
Uh-huh.
it on paper, replace it. And every time it comes, go, oh, hi,
Yeah.
you're now my reminder to self-love.
Yeah. That's a really good tool, and that's a really good habit to be that disciplined. If you can go to the gym and you could have sat with all these negative thoughts all these years, you could do that at least for 30 days. And I bet in 30 days, you'd notice a difference.
Oh, yeah. You start thinking, my body's healthy, my cells are working in perfect order, and I can manifest anything I want. What do I want to manifest? So that's one thing. Another one is breathing. So our bodies are automatically breathed.
Mm-hmm.
The moment we focus on our breath, our mind stops. It's literally like a hamster wheel. You stick a pencil, it stops it. That's what breathing, focusing on your breathing does. So if you close your eyes and you just breathe through your nose, when you breathe through your nose, you can feel how cool the air is when it goes in. And then
That
when you
feels
breathe,
good.
yeah, and then when you breathe out of your nose, it's all warmed up.
Yes.
When the trees exhale, we inhale what we need to live. When we exhale, the trees inhale what we need to live. We're that connected to all that is. So focusing on your breath, your mind's quiet. Focus
Yes.
on it for 2 minutes. You give yourself a 2-minute break from victim, from depression, from woe is me, all of it.
I find for me, I was talking, we had a gal on yesterday and she wrote a book about self-love and how to self-love yourself. But we were talking about also how important it is to get out in nature, like too, like you have this tool, like, tell yourself, stop, wait, but also maybe get up and go for a walk and get in nature.
My favorite thing is nature.
Yeah.
I live in a concrete jungle almost right now in Los Angeles. I'm not by the trees. I'm in a suburban, area. And I go to this place and walk because there's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
And I tell like anyone who's feeling down, go outside for 10 minutes. It's too hot. Then get your ass up at 7 a.m. before it's too hot and walk outside for 10 minutes. Look at a tree and say thank you. Say thank you for a new day. It is really a choice. Do I want to stay where I am and feel like shit?
Right.
Do I want to try one thing that will tweak it? And that one thing leads to more things.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize the power of that one little thing.
Oh, it's huge.
Because they just think, well, this happened to me. I just have to deal with it. Woe is me. But no, like if you start taking control and start manifesting in your mind and in your mouth and in your breathing, how your life should be, I think, you're putting yourself on that path.
That's right. And my big thing is I help move people one person at a time from their head to their heart. This is crazy and hell on earth. This is heaven on earth and peace, love, and joy and abundance. So I literally have to do this to myself sometimes when I'm starting to start a story of getting mad at someone or to feel like they did me wrong or any story. I just have to go like, and then go, I'm right here. And I talk to, there's two parts of us. There's this and there's all connected to God. So I let my connected to God part say to my human self, I'm right here. You're okay. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm right here. I got you and I love you.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's the self-soothing, like a baby with a blanket can stop crying when it's comforted. So can we.
But we've never been taught to comfort ourselves. I don't think I've ever heard that.
I don't think that's ever come out of my pie hole and it kind of lit me up. I liked it. But I just got that comparison that self-love is that.
Yeah.
Self-love isn't getting a manicure, your hair done or whatever. Self-love is going, hey, checking in the morning. In the morning, I put my feet on the ground and I go, what do you need from me today?
Yeah.
And I listen and my body's like, I'm freaking exhausted. Take it easy. Or it's like, I am lit up and creative. Let's get in the office now and write. I listen.
Yeah. And not also waiting for somebody in your circle to give you that, like you said, it's okay to give it to yourself.
Oh, no, it's not okay. It's imperative.
It's imperative. Okay.
We have no control over what comes here. All we have control over is how we respond or react. React is at lashing out without thinking, or if we're going to respond and how we treat ourselves while we respond. When you get anchored here, big ass waves that used to put you to the bottom and cut you up on the reef or in the sand, you ride them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, this doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I love it, but why is this happening? What am I to learn from this? And the quicker you get from brutal divorce to lying in victim to standing up and exploration, what was my part? What do I need to heal from that? What was my part in creating them? Whatever happened to get us both to this point? Everything's 50-50.
Well, I also say, what is your part? But also, I think, and not in your case, I mean, it sounds like you had a wonderful man, but in some of our abusive cases, they need to raise the bar too for what is acceptable to be in their life.
You cannot raise the bar out there. Only raise your bar here.
Right.
We get off a vibration of how we feel about ourselves. If you leave an abusive relationship and say, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Unless you do something different to heal.
So true. Yes.
So it's an interesting dance. It's how we show up, we get back in everything in life.
Yeah. And do you think, you talk about like sharing your messy life, do you think that's very cathartic and that helps, like if things are kind of crazy, like to share that with someone close to
If things are crazy for a victim right now who's in an abusive relationship, I would suggest going to a professional who deals with that. Not friends, no one close to you.
Yeah.
A neutral person who's educated.
Yeah. Because
your friends are going to go, screw him, he's a jerk, he's a dick, we love you. That doesn't help.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know what to do. That says something about the person who's being abused needs support and love in a new way from someone to help her navigate and get out.
Right, right.
Or set boundaries or whatever that she's needing for herself or himself.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Well, this is awesome. We're almost out of time. I can't believe that was like a half hour went so fast.
I don't want to stop.
Do you want to talk just before we leave about some of the things you're working on, or if someone wants to, utilize you or tap into you to get more of this goodness? And
I would love that. It would be my honor to work with or talk with or anyone who's struggling. I'll share two links with you. One is to sign up for a complimentary call with me.
Awesome.
So when this podcast airs, they can just click it. And another one is that I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
I have a thing called subscribe, and people can subscribe to my Instagram and then DM me something that they're going through. And just for my subscribers, and I won't mention, it will be completely, what's it called when no one knows?
Just confidential, private and confidential.
Yeah, not that, but anonymous. So
anonymous, yes.
So when my subscribers send me something, I'm fighting with my sister, the teacher's being mean to my kid, I just lost my money or whatever, they send me a message and then I provide content to my subscribers privately, dealing with what each subscriber is sending to me. So it's kind of like having a back pocket life coach for $4.99 a month instead of $175 a session for yourself.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, who can't afford that?
It's like a shake.
Yeah.
McDonald's a month. And then you can send me direct messages and say, I'm hurting so bad, my mind can't stop spinning, and I'll get right on. And I'll do a little informational video that when you're feeling overwhelmed and your mind can't stop spinning, 3 things you can do. So it's in real time, they get the help they need, and it doesn't cost them an arm and a leg.
Well, and these are real tools. Like I love some of the things you shared today, just about starting with intent, and a lot of good things here. It's just like getting those tools to kind of switch up your habits. And like this crazy thought you said, like get to here.
This is hell. This is
yeah, really great stuff. Well, thank you so much for all this valuable information and what you're offering to, people that are connecting with you through Instagram. I think that's wonderful. And I've learned a lot too. It's just been so fascinating. So I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. And you guys have got this, and I've got you if you need support.
Yeah. Thank you, Leigh. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.